Three money management secrets every Christian must practice in your lives. The first one is to focus on income expansion, not income consolidation. What do I mean by this? Nowhere in scripture are you going to see any of the Christian patriarchs from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, right down to Joseph, David, Solomon, any of them amassing a fortune from consolidation. Well, if you don't know what is consolidation, you've been taught in school, save. If you want to be rich, save money, live below your means, be frugal and all of that. But you don't see that in scriptures. What do you see in scriptures? You hear Isaac sowed in the land. Abraham sowed in the land. Solomon, if you see in 2 Kings, he invested, sent out ships to do business and bring profit every 2 to 3 years. Joseph planted as much as he could in anticipation of the 7 years of famine, which were the turning point for excess wealth for him and his master Pharaoh. Basically, what you've been taught in school to consolidate, in other words, to save, is a big fantasy lie. What we see in scripture, which is God's principle, and you can still see that in Proverbs. It tells us, cast your bread upon the waters and it shall return to you many days after, is to expand your sources of income. So do you always think, how can I save $50,000 so that I can finally afford that house? Or do you ask yourself, how can I make an extra $50,000 so that I can be able to afford that house? Because a few people control all the money in the world and the banking systems, they have designed the academic curriculum to focus around income consolidation. So you have been taught from young, get a good education in a good area that can serve as a good launching pad to throw you in a very, very good career where you can earn some good money, and then what's the next thing? You consolidate around that income. So maybe you're earning 5 figures or 6 figures. You stop thinking about income expansion. You think consolidation, save, put in your retirement funds, start economizing, reduce your standard of living, get an average house, average car, average wife, average kids. Live an average life, and hopefully perhaps someday when you retire, you're going to find out that you made it. That's total nonsense, and that's not what the scriptures is teaching believers. The scriptures teach us to focus on income expansion, and that's why Proverbs tells us there is he who scattereth and yet increaseth, and then there is he who withholds more than it is necessary, and that tended to poverty. So withholding is consolidating. I don't want to lose this, I don't want to lose that. I'm going to see that I can economize as long as possible. Even as far back as Exodus, when God was releasing the manna, he was telling the people not to focus on the mindset of consolidation by getting worried or scared that you're not going to have manna tomorrow, so you go out and pick more than you need for that day to hoard, to consolidate, and to keep. What happened the next morning? All of those stuffs were rotten. But the idea was, think expansion, because you're always going to have other opportunities. Instead of getting scared about losing money, which you can always make money, be terrified by losing your time, because your time is your life. You can never get it back. So stuck in a system where you're trading in hours of your life, literally, for a few bucks, which you can still get out there and get murked and lose all of it, is becoming an ideal prey for the system. So from today, think income expansion. Don't think consolidation. Consolidation is good. We're going to see that in the next point, but it's not the focus. It's not the primary idea. Once you conquer a new territory, you consolidate. You go to the next territory, you conquer it, and you consolidate. You don't consolidate from the beginning and you never move forward again. You never try to explore new opportunities. No, if you don't consolidate, you might lose everything. That is right. But however, you can't limit yourself and keep yourself stuck in one spot because you're trying to consolidate as much as possible. Money management secret number 2 for Christians is the concept of tithing. Now, this is a hotly debated topic on the internet, and various people have their own opinions about it. But I'm going to tell you it's very, very simple as a concept. And even if you don't want to look at it in the religious perspective, when you look at a book like The Richest Man in Babylon, it puts it super easy in perspective. Because the concept of tithing is not about 10%. The concept of tithing, as illustrated in that book, The Richest Man in Babylon, is about the principle of 7-10, meaning No matter what you do, you should never consume more than 7/10 of all what you make. So it's not even about the 10%. Now the 3/10 that is left after you have organized and budgeted your life around the 7/10, that 3/10 is what you use for charity, which includes tithes, and investment, which now serve as a building block towards your income expansion campaign. So let me ask you, you don't believe in tithing, fine, yet you spend everything of what you earn. Then your problem isn't tithing. You say you don't believe in tithing, and yet you're unable to put aside the 20% that is supposed to serve for your income expansion, and yet you wonder why you're still broke. There are people who abuse tithing just like there are people who abuse even donations to charities. If you go and audit many of the charities that you send your money to, you might be shocked and embarrassed about how they use the money. So that some churches abuse it is nothing strange. It's simply human nature, and that's not where your focus is. Your focus is planting the seed, respecting the principle, and trusting that the rewards that God has designed into nature itself, seed time and harvest, are naturally going to flow your way. Therefore, the concept of tithing is not about 10%, it's about discipline. And hey, before you say what I'm earning is not even enough to meet my needs, I don't see how I'm going to reduce myself to just live on 7/10 on all of that. Well, it's simple. What I'm going to tell you is it really doesn't matter. It's not about how much you earn, because you're not supposed to design your income around your life, but you're supposed to design your life around your income. If it's all about designing your income around your life, then even $1 trillion in income will not be enough for you, because even if they told you today that you have $1 trillion, your needs, and particularly your wants, would still grow and rise to exceed that $1 trillion. Suddenly you feel like you want a gold or diamond toilet. Perhaps you feel like you want to conquer Mars or conquer Jupiter, and suddenly $1 trillion is not enough. So your life is vast and unlimited, but your income is limited. So don't design that income around your life. No, design your life around your income. So anything that wouldn't fit in that 7/10, you can sacrifice it and put it aside. And if it hurts, then go back to point number 1 and think of ways to expand the income. If you keep expanding the income, soon enough, the 7/10 that presently isn't enough, in due time can certainly be more than enough. And finally, the third money management secret for Christians is planning your offerings. Now, you can divide that into 2 parts. Generally, your offering has to talk about 1, your worship offering, which you give in church weekly, and then 2, your offering to those who need it. So if you understand how it breaks down here, number 1 is income expansion. Number 2 is income investment, both physically 20% in the opportunities that you can find to expand your income, number 1, and spiritually giving 10% to God or to a cause or to a charity. But what's really important here is that you should be led, because the scripture does tell us, God says, be careful not to offer your offerings, your tithes, or your sacrifices in any place, but in the place which I would direct you to do so. So it's not really about saying, I don't like this or I don't like that, but led on where to sow your seeds, because that's where the fertile ground is, and that's where it's going to give fruits for you. So don't just copy others simply because they say, I'm going to sow here. You're like, oh, that guy doesn't sow in church, I'm also going to sow in that charity. Perhaps that's where they have been led to sow by God and they are reaping the fruits. But is that your fertile ground? That's the question. So many Christians just give offerings in church as they feel, right? I go to church. If the sermon is good, I send my hand right down deep in the pocket. But if the sermon doesn't really touch me, just keep it right out shallow in, I don't send it right down deep. And that's not how it's supposed to work, because your offering is not unto the service, it's not unto the pastor, it's unto God. And that's why it's important that once you have your income, you're structuring and budgeting everything, you have to budget your offering as well. Both the worship offering and the reaching out offering to give to those who are in need. So you should have a budget to help people. And once the budget of helping people is exhausted, Well, whoever comes again for help, give them a rendezvous for next month, because that's one of the challenges that people have. You don't understand that you have to budget to help people as well. Otherwise, as you grow financially, you'll be unable to manage. And that's certainly one of the reasons why people who win lotteries end up even broke, because everyone around them is just coming for a handout. And once you have not learned this principle about budgeting everything, even the offering that you have to give to the needy, then there is no limit to how far you can go, and thus resulting in total catastrophe. So think about it. If you had just one service a month, then you bring one offering to God. So if you're budgeting, you imagine that if all the 9 or 5 or 4 services in that month were combined into one, what offering would you like to worship God with? So you take it, okay. Now you divide that budgeted offering into the number of services. So that once you're going for service, you're giving the offering per what you have purpose in your heart, as the scriptures say, not based on how much is left after you have bought gas and bought food. And on that particular day, if you're feeling broke that day, you give $1. The day you just received your salary and you're loaded, you give $500. That isn't management, that is carelessness. So those are the 3 vital money management secrets for Christians. What other money management secret do you think Christians should apply which has worked for you? Please share that in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't leave without giving it a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit the bell if you're new to the channel. A big shout out to our patrons for helping us create content like this. You too can support the channel. The link is down below. Thank you for watching. I'm Brother Jumesi from Wisdom for Dominion, and until the next video, stay blessed.